Hey there. Let's talk about monsters. Real ones. Not the scaly things in Saturday morning cartoons. Not the Instagram villains with red flags and ring lights. We're talking ancient monsters. The kind carved into temple walls. The kind whispered about across centuries. The kind whose story keeps shifting depending on who's holding the chisel. Let's talk about Medusa. Yes, the snake-haired, stone-turning she-demon of nightmares. The Gorgon, the grotesque, the final boss before the credits roll. But also, and this is important, a woman. Before anything else. You see, Medusa didn't begin as a monster. She didn't crawl out of the underworld hissing and swinging her venom. No. Once upon a myth, Medusa was beautiful. Painfully beautiful. The kind of beautiful that makes you inconvenient. Especially in a world where gods notice things they probably shouldn't. Medusa was mortal unusual in her family. Born to Phorcys and Ceto, two primordial sea deities with a thing for monstrous kids. Her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, were immortal and terrifying from birth claws, fangs, maybe a casual shriek that killed small mammals. But Medusa, she was different, mortal, human adjacent. She served the goddess Athena, sworn to chastity, wisdom, order. A sacred priestess in a sacred temple. And then came Poseidon, god of the sea, earth-shaker, beard-hover, a deity known more for waves than boundaries. He wanted Medusa. Not her opinion, just her. And so, in Athena's temple. Yes, her temple, Poseidon, did what ancient myths often describe in cryptic, uncomfortable terms. And Medusa was violated, defiled. Not just physically, but symbolically the holy space, the priestess, the law of divine order shattered in one violent act. So, who gets punished? If you said Poseidon, you must be new here. No, Athena, in all her gleaming, owl-eyed judgment, turned on Medusa, her own servant. Maybe she was enraged at the desecration of her temple. Maybe she couldn't challenge a fellow Olympian. Maybe she just didn't like being upstaged. Either way, the result was brutal. Medusa was transformed, twisted, warped, made monstrous. Her lustrous hair became a nest of living serpents, each one hissing with the rage of the gods. Her once beautiful gaze, now cursed. Anyone who looked upon her turned to stone. Instantly, permanently, and no refunds. Banished, shunned, cast to the edge of the world, Medusa fled to a rocky island called Sarpedon, where she lived alone. If living is even the right word. She was no longer priestess or woman. She was Gorgon, myth made flesh, a warning with fangs. But maybe that was the point. Because monsters, in myth, aren't born. They're sculpted one chisel stroke at a time. Usually by fear, or control. Or in Medusa's case, vengeance disguised as justice. Still, her legend grew. Sailors spoke of her. Warriors avoided her. And yet, like all terrible things, someone eventually wanted to kill her. Not to avenge her. To use her. Enter Perseus. Son of Zeus because of course, and Danae, who'd been locked in a bronze tower because her dad read a prophecy and decided, imprison your daughter forever, was a logical response. Perseus, like all Greek heroes, had one foot in the divine and the other in his own hype. And when a local king decided to get rid of him, because Greek kings were allergic to competent young men, he sent Perseus on an errand. Bring me the head of Medusa. Not an easy task. You know, because of the whole petrifying death stare thing. But Perseus had help. a lot of it. Athena gave him a polished bronze shield, the original selfie mode. Hermes offered winged sandals. Hades tossed in an invisibility cap. He even got a magical satchel to safely carry a decapitated head, because this myth had merch. So off he went, flying to the edge of the world. And here's where it gets ugly. Medusa wasn't out there raging, destroying cities, kidnapping virgins. She was asleep, alone. And Perseus, brave, bold, blessed Perseus, crept in. He didn't face her. He didn't speak to her. He didn't give her the dignity of a fight. Using the mirrored shield, he avoided her gaze, raised his blade, and struck. One blow. Clean. Final. Medusa's head hit the ground. And from her severed neck, because Greek mythology never does subtle, sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, the golden warrior. Apparently, she was pregnant with miracles. No one explains how or why. But again, symbolism over biology. Perseus stuffed the head in his satchel and left. And Medusa, her body was left behind, discarded, unmourned. But her head was now powerful. A weapon, a trophy, a symbol. Perseus used it to petrify kings, monsters, rude party guests, and eventually gifted it to Athena, who placed it on her shield. A permanent badge of terror worn by a goddess who once called Medusa sacred. Poetic? Maybe. Or just hypocritical. But the story doesn't really end there. Because Medusa refused to stay silent. Even in death, her image endured. Artists painted her, not always as a monster, but as a victim. A martyr, a warning, sometimes even a protector. Her head, the Gorgonean, became a talisman, worn on armor, coins, buildings. Not to frighten others, but to ward off evil. To say, I see you, and I won't look away. And slowly, over centuries, her narrative shifted. In modern times, Medusa has become a symbol of rage, not chaos, but righteous fury. A woman silenced, punished, vilified, yet still feared. Still powerful. Feminists reclaimed her. Artists reimagined her. Survivors saw themselves in her. Because what is Medusa really? A monster? A myth? Or a mirror? She is what happens when the victim gets rewritten as the villain. When the story is told by the one holding the sword. But let's flip that. Let's say Medusa wasn't the threat, but the warning. Not evil, but misunderstood. She was not slain because she was wicked. She was slain because she was inconvenient. Because she couldn't be controlled. Because her gaze was too much for the fragile to bear. And maybe, just maybe, turning to stone was a mercy. A defense mechanism. An act of survival. Because the world that made Medusa, that exiled her, punished her, used her, deserved to freeze for a moment. To be still. To look at what it had done. So, the next time you see a statue, a woman with serpents in her hair, face frozen mid-scream, ask yourself, who carved this? And who benefits from her silence? Because Medusa may be gone. But her story, her fury, her stare, it never really blinked.